You're listening to The Pain Chaser 1, Ambuscade. This audiobook contains violence, torture, drug use, and scenes of a graphic and often disturbing sexual nature. It should go without saying that it is not intended for children. Now turn up the sound, turn down the lights, and find a comfortable place to hide. Because fear has a face, and I'm going to show it to you. Chapter 2. Steve stumbled into his house, hands shaking, and dropped his car keys down on the card table next to a half a dozen empty beer bottles. His house. His alone now. Big fucking deal. He got the house, and some fucking Jew from Temple University got his wife. Life was real adept at dealing the cards out. He turned on the kitchen light. It stabbed at his eyes like knives, causing a deep ache in the sockets. Then he pried open the refrigerator door. No beer. Not even any piss water left over from last Thursday night's poker game. He pawed through the condiments and leftovers, filling the tile floor with various food items, looking for a surviving soldier. No buried treasure here, Stevie. That war's been fought. He stood up, not bothering to replace the food, and walked down to the basement and the mini-fridge. He almost broke his neck trying to walk down the basement steps, but that was the price you had to pay for a good time. He went into the mini-fridge behind the dry bar. The bar was, of course, empty. No hard liquor survived a night with him and his poker buddies. But he thought maybe, yes, a single long neck, hiding behind a month-old jar of salsa con queso. He popped the cap with his teeth, not even registering that he'd chipped his molar, and tossed the beer down his throat in much the same way a snake would swallow a rabbit whole. Only Steve knew the secret message at the bottom of every bottle, and that message was, "Welcome to hell, Steve. Can I interest you in a drink?" He belched loudly and wiped his lips on his sleeve, standing the bottle on the countertop, where it would stay. With nothing more to drink, and nothing occupying his mind, his thoughts went back to Sarah, as they always did. 4 years ago, they'd been talking about buying a boat together, about taking a month off to drive cross-country to go see her brother in California. 6 months after that, she went to see her brother alone. She'd said that she just needed to take some time for herself, some time to figure out who she was now, and what she wanted out of life. 6 months after that, she left him for good, shacking up with some guy she met out in California. He did the valiant thing. He gave her the time that she'd asked for. She would eventually come to her senses. She was his wife, after all. She was the love of his life. She would come home and beg for forgiveness. He wouldn't make it easy for her, of course. He needed to let her know that he was disappointed in her behavior. But in the end, he would have taken her back. Well, things didn't work out with the guy in California, as he knew they wouldn't. And after 2 or 3 months, she came back to Pennsylvania. But not back to him. She got her own job in her own place. She even got her own friends. And for Sarah, that was a big accomplishment. But she never even called. Steve had spent 3 years in this limbo, this state of drunken confusion. And it all happened so quickly and quietly. One day she was there, planning their life right alongside him. And the next, she was gone. Off on her adulterous journey that would eventually deliver her into the waiting arms of Dr. Lawrence Waite. People said the world was changing, that women did as they pleased, and marriage wasn't the holy union it once was. That it was a contract, as simple to break as a car rental. But Steve knew better, and more importantly, God knew better. Steve stomped up the stairs to the living room. He felt caged, like he'd been wrapped in razor wire. The walls were paper-thin backdrops, hiding a million laughing faces, all trained on him. He grabbed an empty beer bottle off the card table and whipped it across the room. It hit the wall and rolled to the carpet defiantly, cutting a deep gouge in the paint where it had struck the wall. He flipped the card table, sending the other 5 sprawling. He wanted to break something. He wanted to see his pain realized. Then he saw the collection of frog statues that had once belonged to Sarah. That was even better. He would break something of hers, something she cherished. He grabbed a hold of the largest one and looked it in its black cartoon eyes. "It just isn't your day, Kermit," he told it stupidly. and hurled it through the open doorway at the kitchen floor. The frog exploded in fragments, showing its chalk-white hollow inside. It lay there, not angry or in pain, not accusing, just broken. What had he done? It had been Sarah's, one of the only things he had left of her. He cherished it as much as she once had. He picked up the pieces, wondering if they could be glued back together, when the phone rang. He placed the remains down on the kitchen counter. "Hello?" he said miserably. "Stephen, what the fuck is wrong with you?" Sarah's voice. He managed, mouth going dry. "I said, what the hell is wrong with you? Lawrence told me what you did today. Barging into his office drunk, scaring the shit out of his assistant, and threatening to throw him out a window?" "Sarah, he started, but she wasn't about to let him have his say. "You're going to have to pay for the things you broke. You're just lucky he's not pressing charges. This is the fucking end of it, Stephen. One more stupid tantrum like this, and I'll make sure you get locked up. I'm filing for a restraining order tomorrow. If you come within a mile of me or Lawrence again, I'll have your balls in a vice." Silence. Long and painful. "Sarah, I'm sorry," he said finally. Her voice cooled a bit. "Yeah, I know, Stephen. You're always sorry. But if you were really sorry, you wouldn't keep doing these things. Grown men do not go into other people's places of work and yell and break things. The only reason Lawrence hasn't called the cops is because he feels sorry for you." She lectured him as though he was a child. A young, stupid child. Not her husband. Not the man she'd left. Not the one that she had broken promises to. "He feels sorry for me?" Steve asked, his own anger rising. "What a fucking joke. The man has my goddamn wife riding his cock every day of the week, and he feels sorry for me?" She sighed. "Steve, I'm not your wife anymore." "Yes, you are." "No, I'm not. Only on paper, Steve. People leave each other all the time. Marriages break up. People fall out of love. It's life, Steve. Marriages aren't supposed to end. That's not the way it works. That's what makes it a marriage and not dating. If there was a chance you were going to leave, you never should have married me in the first place." "You're right. I shouldn't have." He bit his lip. "Don't say that, Sarah." "Steve, why don't you move on too? Go out and get yourself a girlfriend." "I don't want a girlfriend." "Fine. Then get a hobby. Anything. You're destroying yourself." "I broke your frog, Sarah," he said miserably. "What?" she asked. "Your frog. The big one. The one I gave you for our first anniversary." "So?" she asked tonelessly. "It's just a statue, Steve. I don't know why you still have those old things. Just throw them out." Another pause. Then she added, "I don't want things to be like this, Steve. I wanted us to be friends, and I still hope we can someday. But not right now. Now I need you to leave me alone. Leave my boyfriend alone. Maybe get yourself some help. Get cleaned up. Get your life back on track. Despite what you may think of me, I do care about you. I hate seeing you like this." There was another long pause. "Steve?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm here." "Take care of yourself." "Yeah, you too," he said. But he didn't mean it. He wanted to throw her to the floor and look down on her broken and empty inside. He wanted to kiss her and tell her how much he missed her. He wanted to drink. She hung up. He walked over to the shelf containing her frog collection. He'd made the shelf himself in his shed out back, carving her name into the wood above the slogan, "Welcome to my pad." There were probably 25 frogs in all. Some her friends had given her, some she bought herself, but the bulk were presents from him. Here was one from her birthday. Here a Christmas gift. Here was one he bought her when she was in the hospital with pneumonia. He balled his hands together like a volleyball player, returning a serve, brought them high above his head, and then crashing down into the shelf. The wood splintered into a lopsided V,